So, journalist extraordinaire Peter Hackney is with me. G'day, Peter.
Hello, Tim. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, my friend. And congratulations on your article. I thought it was fantastic. It's all about the MJ the musical, which hit Sydney recently.
Thank you. Yes, it's playing at the moment at the Lyric Theatre at the Star.
And you went along, and this is what the sort of the sub headline says. It says it's a dazzling production, but be warned, you may come away from it feeling uncomfortable, sad, and a bit dirty.
Yes, well, that's how I felt when I left. While I was there, I mean, I felt, look, we're celebrating this guy, but nobody's talking about the elephant in the room, including the musical itself. There is no mention of the sex abuse.
And let's be really clear. Sorry to interrupt you, Peter, but we have to be clear because when I first read it, I thought, well, why would there be any reference to that? But because if it's just his music, for example, but in fact, this is a representation of his life.
It is. It's meant to be his life story. I mean, the musical is set just before the Dangerous tour, but they use that base basically as a platform to explore his life and his legacy. And there's
including his childhood and abuse
Yeah,
at the hands of his father. Correct?
that's right. There's a lot about, well, yeah, there's a fair bit about the abuse at the hands of his father that's explored. And I thought it was ironic and not really, and hypocritical that they're exploring that, but there's no mention of the almost 2 decades of controversy over his own allegations of abuse. You know, the fact that, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one too. Now, if a Michael Jackson fan was in the studio here with us, they would say, "Yeah, but Peter, why would there be any reference to that? He was never proved guilty of anything. In fact, he was exonerated on 2 occasions."
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
I say to that look, you wouldn't explore the life story of someone like Jimmy Savile without mentioning the elephant in the room. And Jimmy never actually, unlike Michael, was never charged. He never went to court. I mean, Michael was in court for months over this. You can't pretend, whether or not you believe, it's irrelevant whether you believe he did it or not, but you can't pretend this didn't happen.
Part of his story, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's really my point. It doesn't matter whether you believe he was innocent or guilty. The fact is that this is meant to be his life story. You can't pretend it's not part of it.
I have a lot of respect for Michael Jackson fans. I really do. We've got a great podcast that people can go and look up, the MJ Allegations. Gave two
Yeah.
fans a couple of hours to answer charge by charge, if you want to call it that, allegation by allegation. But it's interesting to me that Michael Jackson fans often make the argument that things were never proven, yet
Yeah.
they readily accept that Joe Jackson was an abuser. He was never taken to court. He was never charged.
Yes.
And Michael told a story, and they believe that without the scrutiny. I'm not saying, by the way, that didn't happen at all. I'm just saying that there seems to be, they apply different thresholds for Michael Jackson and others.
Yeah, there's a double standard for sure. Um, there's all sorts of allegations about and stories about how badly Michael was treated, and a lot of them were never tested in a court of law, but they're accepted as fact by the fan base. So it's a definite double standard there.
It's a shame in a way, isn't it? Because you are generally very positive about this MJ musical.
Oh, the musical itself, the actual, the music, the staging is spectacular. It is one of the most spectacular things I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I was just blown away by it, like just the lights, the choreography, the sound, the singing was amazing. For it to all be happening like clockwork, like the timing is incredible in this for almost 2 hours. So you can't fault it, and look, not only can't fault it, it is actually amazing as a show. um, I was I was blown away by it, honestly.
I've seen clips and it looks incredible. I must admit, when I was watching the clips, I didn't realize it was a story of his life. I just thought it was a reinterpretation of maybe his concerts and his video clips, but
Well,
it's more than that.
yeah, there is a point there that I just want to make about that. So some people say, "Oh, yeah, but it's just meant to be about the music, and it's just about that bit before the Dangerous tour." Well, um, It really does. It is meant to be his life story. Yes, they do focus on the music and that point in time before the Dangerous tour, because there's a good reason why they do that, and that's because they're trying to avoid the allegations, aren't they? So
there's an argument, Peter, that maybe we shouldn't be celebrating Michael Jackson at all. Maybe he shouldn't be played on radio. Maybe he shouldn't be having shows like this created in his honor.
Yeah, well, that argument is certainly there. And look, I don't know if you're asking me what I think. I mean, not but for what it's worth. I'm not sure. I mean, I think that the thing is that his estate is profiting from this show. It's endorsed by his estate. The two production companies are involved, which are owned by his estate. That estate is in legal action at the moment with people who have made various allegations about alleged child sexual abuse. So I feel at this point it is actually inappropriate for this show to be occurring. I think maybe well down the track, it's more appropriate.
But like you say, whether you believe the allegations or not is irrelevant, because from what I read in your amazing article, and you're going to tell us where people can go and read that soon, is that the show is generally very sympathetic to him. So you would have thought that rather than glossing over this altogether, if you were going to be smart about it, you could have presented the sympathetic side of the story, which he told in his own words while he was alive, that this was malicious, it was a vendetta, it was a conspiracy. Rather than ignore it altogether, which seems like, as you put it, the elephant in the room, why not do it from a sympathetic point of view even?
Well, they could, for sure. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it goes through a lot of dysfunctional things that happened in Michael's childhood, alleged abuse that he was subjected to. It could possibly be, they could have possibly tackled the story of the abuse that he allegedly perpetrated as well. But look, I suppose that does complicate things. My feeling was they just wanted people to come along, have a great night out, forget about all the bad stuff, and most importantly, pay your money, buy your tickets. And well, I have to add, my ticket was complimentary. I was there as a reviewer, so I did not pay for this.
Of course. But you conclude your article by writing, clearly we're meant to put all that aside, meaning the allegations, and just have a good night and bugger the complicated stuff. But how, and more importantly, why? The answer to that is found within the show itself. At several points, we're invited to consider the behavior of the media and various other vultures feeding on MJ's complicated life for monetary gain. So are totally sympathetic to Michael Jackson's show.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of say, I kind of think that, well, look, are these people behind the show doing the same thing? I mean, yet again, there's people, in a way, you could say they're feeding on the Michael Jackson story and making money out of it, but at the same time, they're claiming that, oh, poor Michael, everyone else, he was the victim of this. So it's a very complicated. I've never actually reviewed something where I've had such complicated feelings. Like, I loved it in a lot of ways, but I just felt uncomfortable and a bit yuck at the end. And
how would his alleged victims feel about this?
Well, that's right.
Interpretation.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's what I kept thinking about. Well, what about the alleged victims? And personally, I mean, I didn't put this in the review because I'm not reviewing what happened or didn't happen to the various kids. But I mean, personally, I do believe that there is truth to the allegations after watching Leaving Neverland and after doing a lot of reading. And so, yeah, I do feel for the victims. And I do think, well, how must they feel with this going on and people just applauding this man? You know, this musical has been to Broadway, the West End, Germany, now Sydney. And it must be awful for someone who is a victim to see this continuing celebration of Michael Jackson.
And it's that old chestnut of a question, isn't it? That even if there was truth in this, is it possible to separate the art from the person as well? I mean, as you've pointed out, I don't think you're answering that question. I think you're just pointing out the way you felt sitting in this experience,
exactly.
That you were exhilarated by the spectacle, but you couldn't help but be taunted almost by the allegations in which you've just said you believed.
Yeah, and I just found it amazing that everyone was so willing to just put that all aside. And like, I've never also seen a musical that was so enthusiastically received. Not only did it have a standing ovation at the end, which went on and on and on, it had standing ovations at multiple points all through the show. The first one came before the first interval.
Wow.
So it's certainly a lot of people loved it, but I do feel that, as you've explored in your previous shows on Michael, his fan base is extremely enthusiastic. I mean, it's almost a religious kind of following, isn't it?
Well, I think the fans make a very reasonable point when they say to me, as they have on this show, well, Tim, these allegations were put under the most intense scrutiny and still couldn't be founded. So what more do you need? And that's true. They were vigorously explored and examined. But look, I think that they're, as we know, with abuse, it can take many years for some people to disclose their experiences. And people often don't believe children if they change their story. But the truth is, inconsistency is very consistent in people making disclosures.
That's true. And the other thing I'd say to that, and I do touch on this in my review, is that O.J. Simpson was never found guilty either, was he? And everyone seems to believe he was. So I kind of see this as a similar thing. And the American justice system is, as I think everyone knows, very prone to being influenced by money and by all justice systems are really, but America seems to be more so than a lot of places. People with money get away with literally with murder in the US.
Tell us really briefly, Peter, the dude who played Michael Jackson, who I don't know who that is, but big shoes to fill, big talented shoes to fill. How did he do?
Well, his name's Roman Banks. He was brilliant. Like, I mean, I described it in my review. I think I described him as a shapeshifter. He really is. Like, you actually end up believing it's Michael. Like, you forget that it's not Michael himself on stage. Like, the voice, when he's speaking, it sounds like Michael. When he's singing, it sounds like Michael. The movements, everything, he really does a great job. I've got to give him 10 out of 10 top marks for his depiction of Michael. And you do feel sorry for Michael too at points. I mean,
that's because the show invites you to feel sorry for Michael.
It does, but he just does it so well as well. And but I mean, gosh, he's an amazing singer. And look, I was thinking it might be a bit tragic, like a bit of a sort of a bit of a tribute act kind of vibe, but it wasn't at all.
It's next level.
It was just next level. So if you have no problem with the allegations being not touched in the show, or if you believe Michael was innocent or whatever, and you go along, you will love this show. Like, you'll absolutely love it. It is just, it could not be better in the staging, the acting, the singing. Like, it really is spectacular. Wow. So I have to make that really clear. I mean, that's and Roman Banks is incredible. So yeah, he did very well.
Complicated feelings for you, Peter, sitting in that audience. Now, listen, I would love people to read the article. It's short and sharp and honest and truthful. Where can people find you? Where can they find the article?
Arts Hub. So that's an arts industry publication. It's at artshub.com.au, and it's under the reviews section there. So it's literally, if you just go to the website, click on reviews, and you'll find it there, artshub.com.au.
artshub.com.au. It's really important that we, in this day and age of social media, we support journos who are doing their job too. It really is. There's a lot of quality there too that you don't get on social media. So I hope people go and check it out. Peter, thanks for such an honest review.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you very much.